Hey everyone, welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel if it's not your first time here. Really appreciate you coming back to check out the content that I'm producing. So the question came up this week, I saw it on Reddit, where a user asked, and this person had multiple e-ink devices, or actually e-ink and LCD OLED type devices. And the question came up, if you could only keep one, what would it be? And that really got me to thinking because I have, as you'll see here on the table, I've got 9 different devices. 3 of them are iPad devices, and the other 6 are e-ink devices by various manufacturers. So it got me to thinking, what's important to me in a tablet device, and what would, if you told me that I had to get rid of everything but one, which one would that be? So let me tell you what my use case is. So I work for a very large company, Fortune 500 company. I work in the corporate headquarters, but I also travel out in the field to various locations, and I take a lot of notes. Most of those notes are handwritten notes. Sometimes I need to take pictures with those notes. So I either, have a device that is capable of taking pictures, or I do a workaround, as you can see in some of my previous videos. If I'm going to use a device that doesn't have a camera, I do workarounds to get pictures integrated in with my notes. You can check out those videos on my channel if you want to. So I do a lot of handwritten notes. I do a lot of productivity type work as well, sometimes with a tablet, sometimes with my laptop. So given that use case, specifically note taking is my biggest use case. It got me to thinking, which one would I keep? So I wanted to break this down into a couple of different categories. So if you told me I could only keep one of 3 iPads, I have the iPad Mini 7, the iPad Pro 11-inch M4, the iPad Pro 13-inch M4. And if you told me that I had to keep one of those, I wanted to kind of break down why I would choose what I choose. And then the remaining devices are e-ink devices, Remarkable 2, Remarkable Paper Pro, Boox Note Air 4C, Boox Note Max, Supernote Manta, and Kindle Scribe. So if you told me that I could only keep one of those, I wanted to walk you through which one it would be and why. Maybe this will, be beneficial if somebody's trying to decide which device would you want. Of course, all this is just my opinion. Everybody else has their own opinions, and you may not agree with me. And if you don't, I'd encourage you in the comments to tell me why. I really value other opinions. I certainly don't see myself as any kind of a, what I say goes type person. But then I got to thinking about it. The e-ink device that I would choose to keep would be different if you told me I would or I would not get to keep an iPad. Otherwise, can I keep one LCD OLED type device and an e-ink device? Or do I only get to keep, on the e-ink devices, do I only get to keep an e-ink device only? And then I got to thinking about overall, if you told me out of all 9 devices I could only keep one, which one would that one be? So let's break it down now. So to begin with, we're going to look at the 3 iPads. As I said, I've got the 13-inch Pro, the 11-inch Pro, and the iPad Mini 7 here. So if you told me from an iPad standpoint I could only keep one of these 3, first of all, it would be a very difficult decision. So how I use the iPads, sometimes I do use them for handwritten notes. Like I said, if I'm in the field and I need to integrate pictures into my notes, sometimes I'll carry an iPad with me and use one of the various note apps like Noteful, Notability, Good Notes, or even Apple Notes, and integrate those pictures into my workflow. And that works out really well. But if you told me that I could only keep one, it makes it very difficult. So I have different ways that I use different ones. So first of all, the iPad Mini is a great device. It's very versatile. It makes a great e-reader. I can use it in bed in the dark. Surf the web, read news, look at Reddit, look at social media, whatever the case may be. It's just a really good device for doing those types of things. The 11-inch is kind of an in-betweener. And I find that it's very appropriate for, if I'm in a place where, I want to leverage the capabilities of the iPad, but I don't, want something that's really too small to write on. I do see that the iPad mini is a little bit difficult to write on because it's kind of small. The 11-inch iPad really fits that bill well, while giving me the ability to also do other productivity work. I can even, get on Teams meetings using this, uh, read and respond to email, use Microsoft Office applications really well. And then the iPad Pro 13, out of all three of these right now, the iPad Pro 13 is kind of the one that I love the most, but hang with me. It may not be the one that I would keep. This one I love because of the screen size, all that productivity work that I do. It is really just a joy to get all that done on such a huge screen. However, if you were to tell me that I can only keep one of the three, it's gonna be the iPad 11-inch. It's kind of that Goldilocks. It's just right. It's in between, the too small and maybe the too large in some situations. I know that there's some places that I take my iPad to take notes where this is just a little too large and attention getting, and I really don't want to do that. I really just want to, kind of do my stuff and kind of remain as discreet as possible. All that's kind of hard to do with an LCD screen, or in this case, an OLED screen. So the iPad Pro 11-inch would win that category. If you're looking at the e-ink devices, and I'm going to keep these screens awake. If you're looking at the e-ink devices, and I had to decide on those, which one would I keep? I'm going to start off by saying which ones would I eliminate first. And that is in no way, shape, or form saying that any of these devices are not perfectly capable or, a great choice for somebody, depending on what your use case is. They're all wonderful devices, and they're suitable for different users out there for different reasons. So I don't want to offend anybody if I don't choose, or if I eliminate the device that you happen to be using right now. Please don't take offense to that. It's just how I work and what my use case is. So the first one that I would check off my list and say, this one's just not going to fit my workflow if it's going to be the only e-ink device I have. And I said earlier, do I get to keep an iPad or do I not get to keep an iPad? So I'm going to start off, first of all, by saying that I do not get to keep an iPad. So I am just choosing an e-ink device to be my only device. iPad is not an option. The first one that I would eliminate would be the Kindle Scribe. So the Kindle Scribe is a great, as you can see, this screen is just absolutely beautiful. It's probably the brightest, the whitest, the crispest screen. I can't say that out of the group. It's a joy to write on. Very fantastic writing feel that you get out of there, but it's very limited on its file management. It's limited on its note-taking features. And I think that one would just automatically just default as it's not going to suit my purpose, and it would be eliminated. By the way, a great e-reader as well, because it's got the Kindle Store integrated in there as well. The second device that I would be on my elimination list after the Kindle Scribe would be the Remarkable 2. So on this one, also a great device, great choice for a lot of people out there. It kind of is one of the most recognizable brand names in e-ink devices, and it's outstanding at what it does. It is a great note taker. It can uh, you can do some reading on there, but you kind of have to jump through a few hoops to do it. But fantastic device, but it doesn't do enough for me to be I guess, my only device. So the Remarkable 2 would drop out of there. And I'm going to contradict myself here in just a minute, and I welcome your comments on this. Anyway, the next device that I would eliminate would be the Boox Note Max. And the reason I would do that is really, I mean, the Boox devices do everything. They're fantastic devices. Really love them. Uh, it's, and especially the Boox Note Max with the carded 1300 screen, the absolute beautiful, it's not backlit or front lit rather, but it's a screen when you're in a well lit room. but it's really kind of too big for a lot of situations. Kind of what I said about the iPad Pro 13 earlier, that I would not want that to be my only device. Now, here is where I said I would contradict myself. The same things that apply to the Remarkable 2 also apply to the Remarkable Paper Pro, but it got knocked out after the Boox Note Max only because I love the front light on this one. I love the color. I love the aspect ratio of it. And this one, I've said in a previous video, is one of the only devices that truly makes me want to write. um, when sometimes when I really don't even have anything to write, I'll just go in there and journal, because it is that, for me, I call it the joy of use is very high on the Remarkable Paper Pro, but it has all the same limitations that I talked about on the Remarkable too. So it would go out in third place. And so that leaves the Supernote Manta and the Boox Note Air 4C. And if it's going to be my only device, the Manta is going to get knocked out next, and the Boox Note Air 4C is going to be the one that I would keep out of all of the e-ink devices if I did not get to keep an iPad. Now, in my use case, I use an iPad plus an e-ink device. E-ink device I do most of my note taking on when I've got them together in tandem. The iPad I do other productivity work, like I said, even Teams or email. And since I also have an iPhone, I can communicate with family and friends via iMessage and those types of things. So a completely different use case for the most part. Now let's take a look at it from, what if I do get to keep my iPad? And it may even be a different iPad. It may not be the iPad 11 in this scenario where I get to also pair it with an ink device. So when we look at this, I think from the elimination list, it's going to go a little bit differently, except for the fact that I'm going to eliminate the Kindle right off the bat. No, I hope nobody that uses a Kindle gets offended or gets mad at me. I would also eliminate the Remarkable 2 in second place, just as I did before. I think from there, I would probably keep things in the same order. The Boox Note Max would be next, but then the Note Air 4C would be next. And then it would come down to two devices. It would come down to the Remarkable Paper Pro and the Supernote Manta if I also have an iPad. I wanted to be clear about that. So both of these devices are very limited when you're comparing them to like the Boox devices. The Boox devices, as I said, can do everything. But if I've got a device to do all that other stuff and do it on a LCD screen, and these are my distraction devices and these are my no distraction devices, it's going to come down between these two. And I tell you, this is a very tough decision for me because I love both of them. The writing feel on both of them are the two best in my opinion. But I would eliminate the Remarkable Paper Pro and I would go with the Supernote Manta, only because the organizational capabilities on the Supernote Manta are just really unmatched, to the level that Supernote implements these things with, linking. Boox can do linking as well. I like the way that Supernote does it better. With the way that they do headings, keywords, the star system, all of the things, circle and make it a to-do or add it to a calendar. All of these things are just really well thought out, and Supernote really does it better than anybody. So Supernote would be my only device, only ink device, if I also got to keep an iPad. And so that brings me to the final determination. So what if out of all 9 devices, I could only keep one? You told me that I had to get rid of everything else. Which one would that be? That is unfortunately, I am a fan of every single device on this table. I knocked out the Kindle first round in both of the e-ink comparisons there, but I really love the Kindle. Like all the positive things that I said about it before, I absolutely love it for those things. And it's a great device if you don't need complex file structures and note-taking features and stuff like that. Great device to use. But if I only had one device, you heard what my use case was. You hear all the things that I do with the device. As much as I love all of the e-ink devices, um, I think it's going to be the iPad Pro 11-inch M4. And you know, at the risk of you know, making anybody angry, I guess you'd say. That really pains me to say because I don't think I would want to own a device where one of them was not an e-ink. I am a huge fan of e-ink devices. I love these things for how easy they are on the eyes, the writing feel of them. They are just incredible devices. But for my use case, in how sometimes I need those distractions, and sometimes I need them very to be able to you know, move through stuff very quickly. It would have to be the iPad Pro and probably the 11-inch iPad Pro. So anyway, I hope this was helpful if you're trying to decide, you know, which one of these devices is one that you might be looking at. I know that everybody has different use cases. You know, I'd love for you to come into the comments and tell me what yours would be. I'm certain that it's going to be different than what I chose in a lot of cases. And that's fine. Like I said, everybody has their own opinion and their own, you know, set of wants and desires that they have in here. But anyway, thanks for watching the video. If you like what you see here, hit the like button. If you would consider subscribing, that would really help the channel as well. Thanks and see you in the next video.